33-story hotel and condo project.
I'd probably be
Okay,
like
like
that.
stop, tap.
This is a plan by the community for the community.
This one here, you showed me.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's Kent Molgat for KelownaNow. And we're joined by Spencer, Chandra, Herbert. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here with you.
So you're chairing this task force that's going around the province asking landlords and tenants to, I guess, come forward with their ideas on what would make a better landlord-tenant act.
Very much, so it's renters, Residential Tenancy Act, landlords, and the arbitration process that goes around that. And then a small side step to the consultation is to ask folks who live in manufactured home parks and those who own those parks as
Right.
well for their advice. Because really, as anybody knows, we have a housing challenge in BC.
Right.
Prices challenge, well, it looks like it in the Kelowna area. We've got approximately 0.2% vacancy rate, which means that if you lose your housing, it's very difficult to find another place to live, and certainly a place that you could afford to live.
Right.
And so it's like Kelowna, Vancouver, Victoria, you travel the province, these are big problems. The vast majority of landlord-tenant relationship is good, I think, for the most part.
Right.
But when it goes off, it can go really off.
Right. So it's important that we come up with a system that is smooth or functions well, because we need a healthy rental market at play.
Absolutely. You can't run an economy without a rental market. You can't have housing without it. 1.5 million British Columbians rent. And so what we're trying to do as a government is go, okay, we've got an act. It's been the law for over 16, 17 years now. What's good about it? What needs to be fixed? How do we improve the situation so that, and it's often the case, a bad apple, a bad actor, somebody figures out how to calm the system. In some cases, it's they can take advantage of tenants. Tenants, they have no other place to live, so they jack the rents through the roof. They don't provide any maintenance. Maybe they evict, but they lie about why they're evicting,
Right.
just so they can bring somebody in.
Renovictions. I see.
Yep.
That's common in Vancouver, where the owner of a building will undergo renovations, and we can use air quotes there because the real reason is they can look out there and see I could raise the rent.
Yeah, it's often an elderly senior, so they'll say, oh, they've been in the suite for, 10 years. Well, I could rent it for double the rent. Some students are coming in. It's no vacancy, so I can charge whatever I want. A senior, you're evicted because I need to renovate. They slap a coat of paint on. It's the same suite. They've really done
Right.
nothing. We want folks to have that long-term tenure because in the end, where does the senior go? In many cases, they get forced out of the community. They paid their rent. The owner's still making good money, but they want to make even more. And that's the challenge because you got to protect the renter, but you also got to make sure that the person who's running the business of rental can make money too. So,
But it's tough if you have to have an act in place that's going to hold rents at what is in some cases not the going rate.
well, and that's the thing is, we have a modified rent control in BC. The former government set it 2% plus inflation in order to try and ameliorate the huge spikes in rents while allowing a landlord to make a return. Now, most landlords, they'll wait for a tenant to move out, and then they'll set the rate at whatever the market is right now. And they find they make a really good profit at it. So it's a matter of trying to get people good housing that they can afford while also ensuring that the owner can make a return as well and can reinvest in the unit.
You talk to people on either side of that relationship, and the tenants will say that they've got no rights, and the landlords will say all of the laws are on the side of the tenant. So I guess you're getting an earful in both ears.
I get pulled in both directions. They, from person to person, you can have the exact opposite, and they may be making the exact argument against the one that you just heard.
Right.
So it's not an easy task to chair this task force, but it does make sure that we think about balance, and that as a government we try and run a balanced relationship, because 99% of these relationships work because they get the balance.
You wouldn't be going through this process if your government didn't believe that there's some areas that need to be improved. So what stand out going in as the areas that need fixing?
Some of the areas we heard right out were people saying, oh my God, the wait times. The wait times to get help are incredible. And that's for both renters, say, for example, saying, I need a damage deposit. I've left the unit clean, but the landlord won't give it back to me. I can't find a place because I can't afford to put down a damage deposit. You rely on it. and they would have to wait months upon months upon months, sometimes up to over a year. Landlords, similar story. If they want to, somebody's damaging the unit, they need to act quick to protect the unit. That can take a long time, and you serve somebody, but you may have a couple of months before you even get to an arbitration. So I'm encouraged. The government has invested a couple $1 million now in the residential tenancy branch to reduce the wait times, but we're still hearing that concern. So
Right.
that's one of them, is just, you want justice, but you don't want it 5 months from now.
Right.
You want it as soon as you can.
It also comes to mind that any changes you make, you have to go gently, because let's say you really thought, no, we have to do better for the tenants. Well, if you do anything that where the landlords are starting to say, whoa, I'm out of the business, then suddenly there's less supply for the tenants.
But, and that's one of the challenges. I'm hearing folks going, well, we love the idea of Airbnb and that kind of service, but it has pulled a bunch of rental homes, which were purpose-built in some cases, or secondary suites, out of the rental market, and now it's Airbnb, which is great for tourists who want to travel and visit a home. But for the average person just looking to, rent a place so they can work their job at the coffee shop or, at the tech company, whatever, they're all in the same boat now. They can't find that place, and I know that's making it challenging for businesses trying to attract people to come work for them. So, in Vancouver, they've said, well, Airbnb, you can do it in, a second bedroom, but you can't do it in a, rent out a whole house.
Right.
For more than 6 months a year. Vancouver deals with it. I don't know if that's what we'll hear about that here in Kelowna. I'd be interested, because the vacancy rate is even lower in Kelowna than it is in Vancouver.
If people aren't able to get to one of these meetings you're having on the topic, are they able to send an email in and have some input?
We've got a whole bunch of ways. So there's an online forum where we're asking questions. People can respond and actually respond to each other. So it's like a Facebook question and answer, except better, because we don't allow crazy people to post just anything. But we also have send us a written document of your points. We're asking folks to think like a landlord if they're a renter. If they're a landlord, think like a renter. Try and think of ways that we can
Right.
bridge this oftentimes false divide,
Right.
And get people working together, because I think that's what'll work best, and that's how most landlords and tenants work together.
Okay, so you got 11 of these around the province. When do you expect to be compiling things, making recommendations, and perhaps getting some legislation out?
So we finished end of June, started July with our meetings, stakeholders as well, meeting with a whole bunch of different groups who have arguments to make too. We'll pull together a what we heard document so people get a sense of what was the opinion out there. And then we'll get out to our proposals, which should be going public in November, getting them to the minister, the premier. They will address those issues, try and come up with legislation. We should hopefully start to see policy change and legislation next spring.
Fantastic. I look forward to that.
So yeah, no, it's great to be here. It's good to get the advice. I love democracy where you listen.
Right.
And then you act, and gives people a sense that, okay, they can be part of their government. It's not just this black box off in Victoria that does things to us, but that we can actually be involved. That's the best kind of politics, I think. And
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it'll be good fun.
Thanks for reaching out to our community.
Thanks, Ken.
And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.